right, so as we come to lie on our mat, let's just take a second to close our eyes. And just notice how we feel in the space. Notice if you feel like you want to separate your legs a little bit wider out to the sides, or they're fine. The palms are turned open towards the sky. We're just going to take a deep inhale through our nose. And as we exhale, just kind of release the weight of your body, release into the mat. And just take a few moments to notice how you feel. Lying flat on the floor. What parts of yourself feel very comfortable? They're willing to release. What parts of yourself are maybe a little less comfortable or just not as willing to let go? And we just become aware of it without judgment, knowing that it is going to change. Inhaling slowly and fully to really feel how your body expands, especially into your back. Notice how the back of the ribs expand into the mat. And as we exhale, just allow ourselves to fall back into the floor and really feel the back of the body. So we can never see the back of our own body, but when we learn to see with our other senses, when we learn to feel with our eyes closed, we can start to bring more awareness to the back of the body. Inhaling slowly and fully to, again, sense where things expand, where you move into the floor. And as you exhale, just take a moment, let go, and from the back of your feet, from your ankles, scan up through your legs, noticing what parts of your legs are clearly touching the floor, what parts of them are clearly not touching the floor. And maybe there's some gray areas where it might be really clear in one area, but somewhere it's like, I'm not really sure if it's touching or if there's space. Traveling up through the back of your pelvis where it's very obvious where it's touching. Noticing the curve of the lower back, how big can you sense it is? Do you sense that it's high curve or low curve? Can you sense if it's even between right and left? And again, as you breathe, notice the way that the back of the ribs contact the mat, the way that the shoulders and the arms fall into the mat. And then at the back of the neck, there's a space, and the back of the head becomes heavy again on the floor. And when you feel ready on a following exhale, we'll take the arms up over our head and just take a long reaching stretch. You can slide the legs close together. Lengthen out really long, and as you inhale, release the stretch. Just let yourself again fall back. Inhale. Exhale to lengthen out very long. Squeeze the body long and press all of the air out so that when you inhale, you feel the wave of the inhale rushing into the ribs, into the mat, into the back of the body. And when you exhale, you feel yourself stretching to get long and reach, and maybe have a yawn in there. Squeeze all the air out. Make sure your exhale is complete, and then you relax the body to inhale one last time. And then when you're ready, go ahead and walk the knees in, bend the knees in, hug the knees into the chest. Let the lower back settle onto the mat, and we're just going to rock ourselves a little from side to side. Hug the knees into the chest and keep them wide apart so that it feels pretty easy to pull them in and comfortable. And just notice how the back is feeling this morning. And then go ahead and pause, find the center. We'll bring the left foot down and onto the mat. Interlace the hands behind the right thigh. Gently push the right thigh into your interlaced hands. And as you inhale, straighten the right leg up, flex the foot. Exhale, bend the knee, and relax the foot. And just repeat these a few times. Inhale to lengthen, reach the heel up for the sky. Exhale to bend. And as you're stretching your leg, notice what else you find. How does the back of the body relate to the floor? When you bend the knee, it's pretty easy to let it fall back into the mat. When you straighten your leg, does it stay the same or not? The next time that you bend your knee, pause for a moment, stretch your left leg all the way out along the mat, and then again, go back to reaching your right foot up for the ceiling and then bending the right knee, release it down. You might notice that this creates more tension now with the left leg lengthened out. That's fine, just be mindful that when you bend your knee, again, you're letting your body fall back and feeling the points of contact that you make with the floor, and then noticing if they change when you stretch the right leg up. We'll just do this 2 more times. And then when you're ready, bend that knee, bring the right foot down to the mat, and as you exhale, drag the left knee into the chest. Just give it a gentle squeeze into the chest. Interlace the hands behind the left thigh now. Push the left thigh into the interlaced hands, and again, inhale, stretch the left leg up. Exhale, bend the knee, relax the foot. We'll just keep repeating that. As we breathe, as we go along, keep tuning into the back of the body. Be mindful of wanting to take advantage of the floor when you're lying on it. Think of how many hours of the day you spend away from the floor. How many hours of the day do you spend on the floor? So we want to make that hour really count. If it's just 1, hopefully it's a little bit more. Last time, and now bend your left knee, stretch your right leg all the way out, let the back of the right thigh release, and keep the left leg going. We'll just do this a couple more times. Again, notice if that increases what you feel. Is it significant? Is it subtle? How does it feel around the front of the thigh and hip socket? Just do 1 more. And now the next time that you bend your left knee, go ahead and bring the left foot down. Walk the right foot in, and then walk your feet wide apart, as wide as the mat will let you go, or as wide as the hips feel comfortable, really. And as you inhale, reach the arms back up and over your head. Exhale, and again, take a long reaching stretch. We'll interlace the hands, grab the back of the head just to make a pillow for the head, and let both knees roll to one side. Inhale deeply while you're there. And as you exhale, the outer leg, so the outer thigh is resting on the floor. That's the leg that's going to come back in through center, and then roll across the pelvis and over to the other side. Inhale when your legs are over at the side. Exhale to roll through the center, and just follow your breath. Notice that when we roll the knees over to the side, the rib cage will get lifted up off of the mat. And when we inhale, we can exaggerate that or promote that also internally. When we exhale, the rib cage kind of flattens relatively into the mat or falls into the mat. And when we're exhaling, we can also promote that internally. So when you inhale, the lungs fill, the ribs spread apart. And when you exhale, the lungs empty and it pulls the ribs together. Just go a couple more times to each side. Take your time to move through it. We're in the height of the rainy season. It rained all day yesterday, and so, start noticing the rain because it's going on for hours and hours. And as I'm moving, it's like, imagine the way that the dirt absorbs the earth, absorbs the water rather, the way that the earth absorbs the water. As we move and breathe, you want to absorb the oxygen, absorb the nutrients that you pull in through your tissues that same way. So you want to have time for it. And that quality of really sinking into the breath, sink into the movement, stretching through the tissues as we move, especially on these passive movements where we're able to just fall back into the earth and breathe. Last one. And the next time that we turn the knees over to the right side, we'll bring our left elbow in next to our head, roll the entire body onto the right side, bring the knees into the chest, long spine here, and as you're ready, let your head roll back into your interlaced hands, book opening. And again here, just take a breath or two into the ribs. Notice how that might feel a little more intense, possibly. When you exhale and let go, what might you feel? Does the top leg feel like it gets pulled into it? Can you relax the top leg a little bit more? And then you'll bring your left elbow into your head, roll onto your side and go past it. Let the left elbow tap the ground. Inhale into the space between your shoulder blades. And then again, rolling back. And just follow your own breath. Keep the head, neck, and shoulders very heavy. Again, just wanting to promote movement in the upper back, breath and movement through the ribs. And that feeling of ease and letting go. Taking full advantage of the support that the ground provides for us. And we'll just do one more. Rolling onto your side and then back onto your chest or onto your back to open your chest. Just take a couple more deep breaths with the chest open towards the sky. Let your belly expand, let the tissues feel soft so that they can move. And then when you're ready, you'll bring your left elbow in next to your head. Take your left hand onto the mat in front of your face, and we'll turn to come onto hands and knees. Just propping ourselves up, big open palms on the mat, knees right under the hips for a bit of cat-cow. Inhaling, rolling the shoulders back, looking up with the eyes and the tailbone. Exhaling, curling the tail and the crown of the head into the earth, lifting the space between the shoulder blades to the sky. And again, just follow your breath. Notice if you can sense differences between the right and the left side of your back after only having done the book opening on one side. We'll just do this 2 more times. Be mindful of the way that you're breathing. Would your exhale create a fog? Does it feel humid? Promote that feeling of a foggy breath when you exhale. And when you inhale, you draw the breath in through that same part of the back of your throat. And then we'll pause in the center. Take the knees over to the right side of the mat. Just walk the knees over. And then we'll lie down on the left hip, left side of the body. Interlacing the hands now behind the head, knees to the chest. And again, just as you set yourself up, notice that there's a long line through your spine. And on the following inhale, the back of the head rolls into the hands. The elbow opens out to the side gently. And when you arrive, just kind of notice, what's it feel like today? Take a few breaths there. If it's very intense, if there's lots of sensation, bring the elbow in, roll to the side, roll past the side, and towards the mat in front of you. And again, when you roll forward, breathe into that space between your shoulder blades. As we exhale, we can roll back. And really just make it your own. Go based on how you feel. Some days it might feel like you could fall asleep in this shape. Sometimes it feels like there's a sharp knife in your rib cage or your shoulder blade. And it fluctuates. So that's always very comforting to know that whatever it is that we're feeling, it's going to change. We'll just spend a few more moments with this. Keep reminding yourself, relax the head, the neck, the shoulders. Let yourself fall back into the mat. Notice that the more you let go, the more support you receive. We'll just do one more, opening the chest up to the sky one last time to take a breath or two. Inhale a little bit longer, a little bit slower, create a little more movement from the inside. When you exhale, let it all go. Feel the back of the body energetically drifting down into the mat. And the next time that you roll onto your left side, again, you'll bring your right hand down to the mat. We're going to press ourselves back up onto hands and knees. Big open palms on the mat, wrists right underneath the shoulders, the knees right under the hips. And again, we'll inhale, roll the shoulders back, look up with your eyes under your tailbone. Exhale and curl them under, pressing down through your straight arms. Notice if there's a difference now in the way the spine feels. And maybe it's not necessarily the spine, it's all the tissues around it. What does your back feel like now? Did it change? Is it a little more fluid? Maybe there's just a little more awareness. Again, notice the way that the breath moves through you. Inhaling through the back of the throat. Exhaling through the back of the throat. Sometimes it creates a tickle in your throat to do that, and that's a good sign. That's the path. Just do one more. And the next time that you're exhaling, find the pause in the center where you're not arching or curling your spine, where you're somewhere in the middle. We're going to stay here, keep the shoulders over the wrist, bend the left elbow, and just let the body turn towards the straight arm, and then straighten that arm out and go the other way. So all you do is bend one elbow, not trying to get it to the floor, not trying to get it anywhere. Really just trying to keep the shoulders balanced over the wrist. Sorry, trying to not bump into the little microphone. So if you keep your shoulders over your wrist and you just bend one elbow, notice how it'll rotate your rib cage again around your straight arm this time. Keep going from side to side and be really mindful of keeping one elbow straight. It's a funny thing sometimes how the arms want to move together. Sometimes we really have to focus on just keep the arms straight. Keep the arms straight, let the other elbow fall to the mat. And then notice if your pelvis is staying right over your knees. So you might be able to appreciate that there's a weight shift. When you turn to your right arm, there's more weight in your left knee. When you turn towards your left arm, there's more weight in your right knee. But your pelvis is not moving in space. It's staying right on top of the knees, right on top of the thigh bones. So that the rotation is really happening at that space between the shoulder blades. We'll just do one more to each side. Be mindful of the length through the top of the head and the spine. So we're forever reaching the crown of the head away from the tailbone. And now the next time that you come through center with both arms straight, go ahead and stay there for a moment. Bring the left hand underneath your face. Inhale, reach the left arm up for the sky. Turn as you push down, and you may not literally see your left hand up there, but you're looking towards it. And as you exhale, take the left arm, thread it behind the right wrist. Bring the left shoulder and side of the head to the floor. You can keep your right hand on the mat in front of your face, but then be mindful of the distance between the shoulder and the knees. So sometimes the body will fold as if we were going to do a child's pose. If you realize that your knees are super close to your shoulders, just walk your knees back a little bit. If this is uncomfortable or awkward, just keep the right hand on the floor, pushing down to help support the weight. If the left shoulder is okay with this, reach the right arm up for the ceiling, take it to the small of your back, and then slide it across the lower back so that your your right fingertips are looking for your left thigh. And it's kind of a funny thing to think about where your right hand is when it's behind you on the opposite side of your body. So good for the brain. And we're just gonna take a few breaths here. The idea is that we're letting the weight slide down into the left shoulder and the head. Of course, it all depends on how that feels for your shoulder. So always listen to your body. Take 2 more breaths. Let your belly soften. And then when you're ready, release the right hand, bring it back down onto the mat in front of your face. Push down into the right arm, bring yourself up, and sit back into child's pose for just a moment. Notice if you can sense the differences between the right and the left sides. Inhale slowly and fully. Notice if you can sense the difference in your lungs, in the space around your lungs and your breath. And on the following inhale, we'll float ourselves back up onto our hands and knees, the wrists right under the shoulders, the knees right underneath the hips, long through the top of the head and the tailbone. This time you'll bring your left hand underneath your face on the mat. Push down into the left arm, reach the right arm out to twist. Inhale and look up towards the right hand. And then as you exhale, thread the right arm behind the left arm. Come down onto the shoulder and the side of your head, and again, use your left hand in front of your face to help support the weight if it feels uncomfortable for the right shoulder. And just breathe. Be mindful that the knees are not too close to the shoulders. And then if it feels appropriate, reach the left arm up for the sky, take it to the small of the back, slide it across to hook on to the outside of the right thigh. And relax your face. Take 3 deep breaths here. Let your belly soften and expand. Again, allow your body to absorb the information that the shape is giving you. This shape gives us a lot of information because our heart is under our pelvis, our head is under our heart. Helps to pull the organs back into place, refresh the lungs, as it changes the direction of the fluid, where the fluids circulate. One last breath. And then we'll release the left hand, bring it back to the sky to come down in front of the face. Again, push down into the left hand, come back up, and sit into child's pose once again. Noticing if, as you inhale now, maybe you feel a little wider, a little more expansive across your chest. And exhaling. On the following inhale, reach the hands out really long over the head. We're going to float up onto our elbows this time, onto the elbows and knees, and we'll walk the elbows out 1 step, so that you're a little wider than the torso. Your elbows are out a little further, the knees are behind the hips. You can interlace your hands or just hold them together. And as you exhale, glide forward, bring your chin toward your hands or your nose toward your hands. Push down into the elbows, sit back into child's pose, but don't move the elbows. So you won't literally make it to child's pose. Exhaling to go forward, inhaling to go back. Again, be mindful of the position of the head. So we don't want to look up. We want to keep the ears in line with the shoulders. So the back of the neck is staying long. The chin is staying angled towards the chest a little bit. And notice all of the movement in your shoulder blades. So when you sit back into child's pose, if you're feeling a stretch there, even if you don't really feel literally a stretch, just notice that feeling of wanting to push your tail back further to really get the shoulder blades to spread out and wide on your back. And as you come forward, Notice the feeling of the shoulder blades rolling away from the ears and onto your back. When you sit in towards child's pose, the shoulder blades will naturally roll away from each other and up to the ears. And as you glide forward, they roll down away from your ears and into each other. Just notice if you can appreciate again, right? When do you ever see your own shoulder blades? Not that often. Just notice, keep bringing the awareness there. Even if you don't find a lot of feedback, even if there's not a lot of information, just keep observing it. Notice your armpits, notice your elbows, notice where you do feel sensation, because that's how we start to have a heightened sense of awareness. Last 3. Follow the breath. Last one. And the next time that we exhale and go